Testing, testing. I can hear you guys. You can't. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but it's a little bit buzzy when you talk. I don't know if that's
Oh,
the right word.
okay, well, I'm here. I hear you guys clear.
Oh, that's perfect. We can hear you clearly as well.
Okay.
All right. Thank
I'm going
you.
to mute right now, though.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to mute for now.
Oh, okay. Sounds good.
Do you want to lead the pledge of allegiance? Okay. Okay, we ready? Okay, we call to order. And everybody rise, the pledge of allegiance. Catherine will be leading us.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have B is approval of a flexible agenda. The only ones that can be flexible will be 3 and 4, and 3 has to go before 4 in order to get them an explanation in order to move on to 4. So I don't see anything, but it's up to you all to vote for flexible agenda or not. But I see it as that we really can't move anything. So it's up to you. Yes.
I make a motion that we do not have a flexible agenda for today.
Second.
Any discussion?
Is this where we can discuss maybe why certain things were not on the agenda?
No.
Okay.
Okay. All in favor
Flavor.
of not having a flexible agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Okay. Public comment on agenda action items, which is basically number 4 on the agenda. Public will be invited to make comments at this time on agenda action items, where such comment shall be limited to 1.5 minutes per person. Anyone with comments on action items that will take more than 1.5 minutes is encouraged to put their testimony in writing and provide a copy to the board prior to or at the meeting. These copies will not be read aloud, but will be added to the minutes of the meeting upon request. I have a decorum. The Board of Trustees conducts the business of the Douglas County School District and its residents during its meetings. As president, I will not hesitate to remove any person whose statement or conduct disrupts the orderly, efficient, or safe conduct of the meeting. Warning against disruptive comments or behavior may or may not be given prior to removal. Hand clapping, making remarks, or gestures from the audience that may interrupt, interfere, or prevent the speaker from communicating should not occur. The viewpoint of the speaker will not be restricted, but reasonable restrictions may be imposed upon the time, place, and manner of speech. Irrelevant and unduly repetitious statements and personal attacks which antagonize or incite others are examples of speech that may be reasonably limited. Start out, is that thing fixed or? Okay. Thank you. Okay. All right.
Dave, I have a question. Are we going to do the 5 lining up like we
can.
did?
Again, I don't have a lot here, so
Right.
maybe I don't have some that's not signed up, so I'll
Okay.
just have to go from there.
All right.
So I have listed B29 as the first one. Please state your name and please keep your any comments to the agenda item itself. Thank you.
Gay Tyndall, I was unaware I couldn't talk about 3. So I can't say anything about 3.
No, that's informational.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask legal about this because it is on the agenda item. Oh, sure.
It's NRS 241.020.
She didn't hear you, no. Just
Okay. Please read 2. Let me read it again. The public will be able to make comments at this time on agenda action items. This is not an action item. This is an information only.
But number 4.
Why isn't it an action item? Are you talking about minimum public notice?
No, what I was talking about was that if you look at item number 4, and if anyone wants to talk about the search process for a superintendent or anything about a superintendent, I believe they should be able to discuss that. And I'm not sure that's where anybody was going, but because it is about talking about superintendent, that I think they should be able to talk about the superintendent search and how they feel about it.
Two different issues, 3 and 4.
But they can talk about anything on the agenda that's an action item.
But the
And number
other
four,
information
Number
only.
4, they can talk about.
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Not
what I'm
number
saying.
3.
No, but number 4 is the search process for a superintendent.
But you still have to follow the exact guidelines of what this says. That's what got us in trouble before. You're not following.
3 and 4 are
If-
different.
If you do not follow the agenda item as described and discuss what's on the description of the agenda item, you're going to be in an open meeting law violation again.
So if number 4, let me just clarify to legal. If number 4 says search process for superintendent, and they would like to maybe talk about Miss Dwyer as being appointed as superintendent, is that not a search? Is that not the process for a superintendent? Is that not, does it not that fall under the purview of?
One moment.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So what the statute says is that public comment must be taken at the beginning of the meeting on action items. It doesn't say that public comment cannot be taken on discussion items. So I think it is an agenda item, and I don't think we should limit public comment on items that are included on the agenda.
Okay, you're just going to have to explain it when it's done because that's your number.
I mean, Dave, I believe that's right, though. I believe that they should be allowed to speak. I think
Why
it's
do you
right.
have information only? And I've been stopped numerous times about information only.
I think these items are so closely related, and it's hard to not. Again, you can reinterpret the statute many different ways. I believe that allowing the folks to talk about that right now would be important, and I think it should be allowed. That's fine.
Number 3 is not an action item.
I understand.
They're very closely related.
Just like Linda and I discussed last meeting and had the conversation over what the specific language states, it says must be taken if it's an action item. It does not say it cannot be taken if it's not an action item.
But you published an agenda that said it would be taken on action items. Therefore, you did not publish an agenda that said it would be taken on the informational item.
Okay.
Whoa. Come on now. Come on now. Yeah, I'm good with that. We're taking the time. We don't need any OMLs. So let's just go with it.
I just don't want to be in another violation.
You've stated your case.
An open meeting law violation takes place when you don't allow public comment or you don't inform the public of what is going to be happening at the meeting. So by allowing extra information, we're making certain that violations do not take place.
Okay, that's why I want clarity of the open meeting law. I'm a little sensitive to that right now.
Yeah, I think we all are. Go ahead.
Okay,
Thank
number
you.
3.
Gay Tyndall, action item number 3. I want to commend you, Mrs. Wagstaff, for your support of Jeannie Dwyer at the last meeting. You, by your own admission, are still learning how motions and votes and procedures work. When you made your motion, you were hung out to dry by both legal counsel, whose duty is to be the parliamentarian, and the board president, who so proudly and often touts his knowledge of following Robert's Rules of Order. Both gentlemen now admit they knew the vote was illegal and they coulda, shoulda stopped it. Mrs. Dickerson, your words of confidence for Jeannie Dwyer were heartfelt and sincere. I believe your words were that she is crushing it. Mr. Gilbert, You fibbed to the Record Courier. Things did not happen so fast that you couldn't stop the motion and vote. I personally watched you sit right there and watch the goings on like you were sitting at the movies. I don't know how this mess is all going to work out, but I surely hope someone in the process mentions the education of Douglas County students in this process. Remember who you are here to serve.
There will be no more hand clapping. If you do, I'm going to ask you to leave. I said it right in the decorum, no hand clapping.
Number 30.
Number 30.
Yes.
Just a minute, Dave. Just wait. Ma'am, I'm going to ask you to leave.
Don't leave. You don't have to leave. Don't leave. Don't leave. And I'm gonna clap for what you can ask.
If you do, we'll be taking 10-minute break 100 times. I don't care. We're not going to continue to do this. Disruptions.
It's not disruptive.
It is disruption.
You're disruptive.
I have clearly stated in the decorum, what are the guidelines? And I expect them to follow. Go ahead, Dave.
Dave Brady for the record. I find it interesting that the amount of time, energy, and effort that's going into trying to limit free speech. That's pretty sad. Having served as an elected official in Douglas County for 16 years, I can assure you that the open meeting law is not rocket science. Avoiding an open meeting law is a function of two things. Number one, common sense. Number two, paying attention. It's ironic that in the public comment of the last meeting, Mr. Sterrett praised the skills and abilities of Joy Gilbert, and the same day the district waltzes into one of the most flagrant violations of the open meeting law in the district's history. Granted, there's plenty of finger pointing to go around. The truth is, this violation rests at the feet of the Douglas County Legal Counsel. History will judge you, Mr. Burns, and your associates very poorly as a team that hired the most costly, the most inept, and the most incompetent legal team in the history of Douglas County School District. And oh, by the way, my daughter, who teaches here for the last year, has taken a job in Carson City. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there a number 31?
Nick Meyer for the record, speaking on item number 3. School board meeting last Tuesday was disappointing. A deep lack of understanding by our acting superintendent, Jeannie Dwyer, and trustees Kangas, Gilkerson, and Wagstaff about Nevada open meeting laws. You're supposed to know the law. The trustees and Jeannie Dwyer put forward an agenda item that was not published according to Nevada open meeting law. And they expected the trustees to vote on the agenda item. This shows a basic misunderstanding of the law and the board agenda process. This action had all the hallmarks of a coordinated campaign by the trustees. As such, I have filed an open records request with the DCSD for all emails, text messages, voicemails, and written documentation between Jeannie Dwyer, trustees Kangas, Gilkerson, and trustee Wagstaff. The community deserves to know if there was collusion by the trustees and Ms. Dwyer to create an open meeting violation. Thank you.
Number 32.
Melinda Knighting. I'm here to speak on agenda item 3 and 4. Although hiring a national search firm may result in finding a qualified candidate, what it will not find is a qualified candidate who already knows our schools, has a proven track record that they can do the job, has established relationships with administrators and staff. This is what we have in Jenny Dwyer. 9 days ago, 5 board members voted that she was qualified for this position. I don't believe anything has happened in the last few days to change that. I don't find it fiscally responsible to spend a lot of money in search for something we already have. Thank you.
Number 33.
Not me.
I don't want to be in her way.
It's just not staying. I don't know how to.
Oh, just leave it. It's gonna fall.
It was bugging me too. Good afternoon, Cheryl Blumstrom. Last week, I talked about the Nevada Bride statutes being the controlling documents for this board. The legislature created this and every other school board and writes the rules that it must follow. This is a non-negotiable fact of life. Last week, you held an illegal vote. It was improperly noticed and conducted. Your 2 very expensive attorneys sat on their hands. They spent thousands of dollars reviewing the Nevada open meeting law. Is this money well spent? Perhaps, if put to good use. Your supporters criticized the last law firm for not acting sufficiently as parliamentarian. Require that they do better. NRS requires a corrective action when an open meeting violation is found. The citation is NRS 241.0365. Your current agenda does not meet the criteria to resolve the violation. To take a legal action, NRS requires proper notice to the public. Tonight's effort fails. Also on tonight's agenda, there's an item to consider the process for selecting a new superintendent. You've created chaos in this district, and it seems you want to continue that. Our students deserve better. We deserve better. You all commented, thank you for that. How much you like working with Jeannie, how fair she is. Act on your best instincts. Do the right thing. At the next meeting, offer her the job. She's a calming force to the chaos. Save everyone the heartache of another failed superintendent candidate. Select Jeannie Dwyer, please.
Good evening. My name is Terry Jamin, and I am proud to have served on the Douglas County School Board from 2005 through 2016. Selecting a new superintendent is critical to the success of a school district. I applaud the action taken by the majority of this board on May 12, 2024, to hire Ms. Dwyer as our next superintendent, March 12th. As acting superintendent, Jeannie has demonstrated that she has the skills necessary to be a highly effective superintendent. Selecting an in-house candidate who has already proven a proven working relationship with this board, as well as district staff, will enable Jeannie to hit the ground running. Please save the time and cost associated with hiring a superintendent search firm by taking no action today on agenda item number 4. Instead, I urge you to properly place the selection of Ms. Dwyer as our next superintendent on an upcoming board meeting. Thank you.
Number 35.
Allison Gray. Joey Gilbert is here to make sure the board does things legally. In terms of the vote taken to appoint Ms. Dwyer superintendent, Mr. Gilbert is quoted as saying that just as the motion was being made, he leaned into an attorney asking if this could be done. He also said that it all happened so fast before I knew it, they had voted. His depiction of the event is, shall we say, interesting. The motion in question was made at 1 hour 52 minutes into the meeting, and the vote took place at 2 hours. In 8 minutes, Mr. Gilbert was unable to figure out that the vote was out of order. People in the audience knew it. I knew it. People around me, May, Cheryl, Jim, Linda, everybody was talking about it. Everybody knew it, but they weren't allowed to point it out because of the restrictions placed on the public. But the attorney we're paying over $300 an hour had to ask another attorney if it could be done. Also at that meeting, about 90 minutes were wasted due to the president's lack of preparation and lack of knowledge of parliamentary procedure. Had he been prepared, or if people in the audience had been permitted to speak, we wouldn't be holding this meeting at all. So it's even more time wasted here today. And of course, we're paying our attorney to sit in these meetings, so it's money wasted as well. It seems clear that the president lacks the skills necessary to serve as the president of the board. I respectfully ask the president to please step down as president and allow the vice president, who has previously demonstrated her ability to conduct meetings, to take over for him. Thank you.
36.
Virginia Sterrett. Regarding agenda item 3, I'm sorry that this item ever came to be. The blatant OML violation brought on by one new trustee and then encouraged by 2 others should never have happened. The entire episode appeared to be pre-planned, and as such, there was no excuse for the waste of time it caused, since both of the trustees who initially went along with the OML violation have been so critical of others in the past for supposedly committing OML violations. As for agenda item 4, I support a further superintendent search. The last superintendent confessed ignorance to me about critical race theory and was instrumental in bringing both critical race theory into this district as well as DEI. We need a superintendent who is well versed in critical theory's impact on the world of education, and one that can recognize the harm done to the district's students by enforcing diversity, equity, and inclusion. Since those in leadership during the last few years all are complicit in allowing this district to be politicized by ideologies that conflict with traditional values, I do not believe any of them should be considered for the position. Thank you.
Number 37.
Tom Sterrett, agenda items 3 and 4. At the last meeting, 4 of you were ambushed. In a disgraceful display of political partisanship, Trustee Wagstaff, off agenda, made a surprise, albeit prepared, scripted, and rehearsed motion to nominate a superintendent. Predictably, Trustees Gilkerson and Kangas chimed in, also with prepared, scripted, and rehearsed comments of effusive praise for this rogue nomination. 4 of you ran and were elected on a platform of correcting a serious leftward tilt of the DCSD. DCSD needs a breath of fresh air, not more of the same. DCSD must look outside itself in selecting a new superintendent. Your own search policy states that your first choice, if your first choice for superintendent did not pan out, you would consider the first runner-up, Dennis Holmes. Not done. Mr. Holmes has gone through the process. He is owed consideration and a vote before you embark upon another arduous, time-consuming, and expensive process. Thank you.
Ma'am, you cannot record during the meeting without permission. Thank you. It's disruptive.
Excuse me.
It is being recorded.
Excuse
That's why
me.
you don't have to have a recording being done. It has to, you have to permission.
Mr. Burns?
Yes.
I would like to add that at past meetings, we've had, excuse me, one of our own trustees' wives video the entire meeting. So, and there's been other people that have done this
If I would
too.
have known that, I would have stopped.
Is that, Mr. Gilbert, is that illegal for somebody to video or to record the meeting?
I believe that if they ask for permission and they're given it, it shouldn't be a problem though. Ideally, it shouldn't be a problem. People have been recording here since my very first meeting.
And they have to ask permission, you believe?
I don't believe they have to, but
No,
I think the
okay.
president can weigh in. But I've seen people recording almost every meeting that I've been here.
Oh, so have I. That was my point, is that all of a sudden now somebody is doing it.
Well,
So I don't think I don't think you should be able to do that, Dave, as president. That's all I'm saying.
all I'm asking is permission. Just mention that you're going to record. I didn't say anybody couldn't.
Nevada is a one-party consent state if you're recording in person. So only one party has to consent to the recording in person, and that could be the party recording. I'm not aware of any policy or bylaw or ethical statute that restricts recording in a public function. So the law allows for recording as long as the person recording gives consent.
That's what I'm saying. We just need the permission to let us know.
The person recording's
But what
consent. You don't have to consent to their recording. It's a one-party consent if it's in person.
Okay, gotcha. I stand corrected. Thank you. Number 38. Going one.
For the record, Jim Hartman. You know, I've been a lawyer for 45 years, and I think I was very, very disappointed with what I saw from legal counsel at our last meeting. For 8 minutes, he sat there and did nothing when there was an open meeting law violation, an obvious one, frankly, that most people who aren't even trained in the law would understand. And in fact, I think many of the trustees here would know there was an open meeting violation. Nothing was done. Nothing was said. And this meeting actually is the outgrowth of that failure on the part of Mr. Gilbert and the costs that are being incurred by the taxpayers, both for everybody attending and 2 lawyers to be here as well. Very, very disappointed. I had indicated earlier that I didn't think Mr. Gilbert's background was sufficient to be counsel for a school district. His background is as a lawyer, as in personal injury law, criminal defense, DUIs. I recall him well advocating for commercial marijuana businesses out in Fallon, Nevada. That's his background as a lawyer. And he missed the ball for 8 minutes here that cost us dearly and requiring everybody to come back again today and work through these problems. We need to change of our council. Thank you.
Casey, we need number 39.
I thought that was 39.
No, that was 38. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Hi, I'm Zach Wood. Trustee Burns, if you can't lead a functional, productive meeting, I'm going to ask you to leave. I will not hesitate to demand your removal as chair. To begin this meeting, you started by giving out the guidelines and then immediately not following them yourself. You allowed dialogue, you spoke with the people back here, and worse, you suggest that the people behind me are responsible for the open meeting law violations that can only occur based on the actions of the people in front of me. We cannot violate the open meeting law. We are not elected trustees of the district. We are not officials of the district. You do that. You do that in February when you had your closed meeting and you went back there and you didn't come back out and report what you talked about or any action taken. You do that constantly. And that's the reason for half of this agenda. It's the little things like the closed session, like the endless rules about what we can say and what we can't say, and they get ignored. 10-minute public meeting on February for some people is a 1.5-minute public comment for others. You really need to take responsibility for what's happening in the district. The people behind me cannot do that. We can't do that for you. You're leading the meeting. You're responsible for the people who are up here doing the work of the district, good or bad. And I think it shows. It's obvious.
Number 40.
Casey Rogers for the record. Just to comment on that a little bit. I do see that you are trying to follow the rules and the procedures, and I appreciate that. You are new to this position, and so welcome. And here we go for the tough ride, huh? I just wanted to say on agenda item number 4, please make sure that we can ask questions and meet the new superintendents that you're looking to hire. That I would like to meet and greet them and ask them questions. I didn't have the opportunity to do that at the last time before all the chaos happened. I would also like to just echo Virginia Sterrett. That's it.
Number 41.
Marty Swisher. Yesterday, I sent all of you an email to share my input on agenda item 4, search process for superintendent discussion and for possible action. Tonight, you need to make some key choices as we are entering the prime time when the top superintendent candidates are considering available positions. Until the last meeting, you may not have known that Mrs. Dwyer had changed her mind and is a committed and viable candidate for superintendent. But now you do know this. You have the option tonight to make the following motion to consider her at the next school board meeting. I move that we place on the agenda for Tuesday, April 9th, 2024, an action item to recommend Mrs. Jeannie Dwyer for hire as Douglas County School District's permanent superintendent. This motion applies directly to the agenda's description that the board will deliberate and make decisions regarding the procedure for selecting a new superintendent. And it allows the board to revisit and fully correct the open meeting law violation that occurred on March 12th. If you do not pursue this action, then you must select a search firm to assist and guide the board through a process to find quality candidates for you to interview and select. Thank you for considering my input.
Number 42.
Laura Cadeau for the record. The OML does not preclude a null and void vote from being acted on at another legally called meeting. The matter should be put on an agenda for an open meeting and reheard. I would like the original motion to be placed on the next agenda. I remind this board that 5 members voted for Ms. Dwyer, and although 2 abstained, not 1 person objected. I have heard praises about Mrs. Dwyer since she was appointed as acting superintendent. All of you say she's doing a fabulous job. I again request that you delete searching beyond for an outside firm, that we have a candidate that this board already has voted on and wants. And so I ask that you put her back on the agenda for next time. Thank you.
Number 43.
Hello, Anne Marie Chase for the record. Last week, when 5 of you voted to approve Jeannie as our superintendent, teachers breathed a sigh of relief. After all of the craziness and the anxiety and the uncertainty that we have been going through since our last superintendent left us because of this, it was like, okay, it's going to be okay because we trust Jeannie and we trust her to lead us and she knows us. And even with this whole mess, she's ready to fight alongside all of us together to do the right thing for kids. And then Joey, you assured us at that last meeting, you said, we'll make another meeting, we'll make this right, I'll have her contract finalized for today. Do you remember saying that? You said, we'll do it the right way. And then how is it
that 5 members voted for her and 1 member decided not to put it on the agenda. That's what shocks me. It's President Burns. That's your title. It's not the boss of the world, Burns. And how much are we being charged for this special meeting because you didn't catch it, Joey, when it was happening? Thank you.
44.
Leslie Hoganson for the agenda. And how does Mr. Starrett know that things were sculpted and practiced between some of the board members in regards to the superintendent? If you know this means you were present at that meeting and you were subject to hearing everything. You as an attorney know what was happening and that should have brought that up. We wouldn't be having this other special meeting and be in this situation if you had, since you quoted that they were doing all this. I don't know how you knew that unless you were there. Okay, unless you had a fly in the room, whatever. The only thing by having this other special meeting is putting more of the money that should be going to the students, the teachers, repair of school property. All you're doing is putting it in Joey Gilbert's pockets because here he is again here. Thank you so much.
45.
Emmy Kowchek. There's been a good amount of community discussion around last week's meeting and the agenda for tonight's special meeting, which is the 7th since last January. As a witness to the meeting, I'd like to make sure I clear up any more confusion that was mentioned tonight. As president of this board, we've been told repeatedly that the board would follow NRS and Robert's Rules of Order. Part of this interpretation is that a motion needs to be on the floor in order to have any discussion, which may have been the impetus as to what happened last week. That is not collusion. The introduction to the motion was 2 minutes. Discussion lasted more than 7 minutes before Burns himself asked for a vote for the motion on the floor. There were 2 minutes of an off-mic conversation during which Burns said the next step is to get a contract in place, which was confirmed by Mr. Gilbert. During this break, not a closed session, the public, including the majority of those who are supportive of Ms. Dwyer, expressed concern of an open meeting law violation. Board members were alerted. Several minutes into the break, the board members convened, not in a declared closed session. Upon return from break, President Burns launched into agenda item 7. There's no sense of urgency to address the violation until 5 minutes later, Dickerson said she was blindsided and not cool with it. At that time, Gilbert stayed the vote out of an abundance of caution and agendized the vote so the public could address. There was not one mention of a violation. There was never any acknowledgement of an obvious open meeting law violation. The fact that money is being spent for a special meeting to only acknowledge the violation is a waste of money. NRS did not prevent this board from adding an action item onto the agenda tonight that includes corrective action. Please do not hide behind that. If you want to back out of your previous supportive comments, say it with your chest. You owe Ms. Dwyer an apology for negligence.
$46.
Adrian Sawyer for the record, parent of 3 DCSD students. I am disappointed that there is not an agenda item to officially and legally hire Ms. Dwyer as superintendent. She knows the staff, teachers, and students. She has proven her dedication to the district by taking on any duty that needs to be done. With all the negative press that Douglas County School District and the board has been receiving, it would be wonderful to have something that we could all celebrate. However, if the board chooses to open the position, I encourage the board to use a search firm. It is beneficial to see the different proposals in the agenda packet, but the cost associated with the proposals would have been helpful. I think there was one that had a cost with it. I was encouraged to see background checks were a part of the screening process. In my opinion, that was mishandled by the board with the hiring of Mr. Ramirez. A private investigator hired by a journalist is not a valid substitute for a fingerprint-based federal background check. Our children's safety should be your #1 priority. Lastly, I want to dispel any myth that puts blame for the open meeting law violation with anyone but the board president and legal counsel. Not 1, but 2 licensed attorneys sat by and said nothing as the board discussed, voted on a legal motion. Mr. Gilbert had one job, to make sure the board complied with NRS, and he failed miserably. I appreciate President Burns going on the news and taking responsibility, but the majority of the blame falls on the one person being paid to attend these meetings, Mr. Gilbert. Talk about losing faith in legal counsel.
Is there a 47?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
For the record, Rodney Von Ozen, 22-year Marine Corps vet. I've been a resident of this county since 2006. I'm on my third kid over the last 12 years in this school district. I'm a fighter as well, Mr. Gilbert. But while you fought for titles, I'm a retired disabled vet who fought for and defended this country and all the freedoms we enjoy. Not for fake Republicans with their own right-wing agenda that are not for the students and teachers of this county. 5 members voted to hire Jeannie Dwyer. Joey had 8 minutes to say it was an open meeting law violation law. You said nothing. That's a serious violation. That's an integrity violation. Weren't you an Air Force rep? Where's your integrity, Mr. Gilbert? Help us out here. Help the residents out in this county. Look out for our students, not for people's own agenda that don't even pay taxes in this county. Thank you. Drop my mic, sorry. You want me to keep talking?
They're number 48. Okay, 48, 49. Okay. Public comment is closed. I'm sorry, forgot about them. Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Courtney.
Okay. My apologies to not be there tonight supporting my friends that are there, but I am actually at a practice for my child. Basically, don't let them bully you, Trustee Wagstaff. We love you. And the open meeting law was violated, yes, but it should never have come to this. You as president and you, Mr. Gilbert, should have realized the actions and stopped them. Staying legal during meetings. It's your job. Literally your only job, Mr. Gilbert, as quoted in the Record Courier. It all happened so fast. Before I knew it, they had voted. You said that, Joey. Guess your reaction time isn't very fast. Probably got hit a lot in that ring, huh? Regardless of the violation, Ms. Dwyer 100% deserves this job. Our district is crumbling, and you have the power to at least build some bricks of trust back by hiring her. She loves this district and wants to be here. Speaking of building trust, Douglas County parents have zero trust in you, Burns, and zero trust in you, Gilbert. Violations require corrective action, so do the right thing and hire Ms. Dwyer. And if you go against the 5-0 vote and parents' desires, then hire a nationwide firm. Mr. Burns, you want to silence us and make things fit what you want. You want to make up your own rules, and you're threatening counsel while you're doing it? Our staff, parents, and students deserve better. You are not a president. You are a dictator.
Go ahead, Colin.
Hi, Colin Burrows for the record, agenda item 3 and 4. Skip the discussion of a search firm and put a motion on the next agenda to hire Ms. Dwyer. The board has already voted 5-0 for Ms. Dwyer. The last meeting had an 8 to 10 minute discussion between Ms. Dwyer and the board and why she'd be great for the job. There's a back and forth amongst all the board members, including Engelkirk, who went on for 3 or 4 minutes about how great Ms. Dwyer is. Then they voted for her to be superintendent. At any point during this 8 to 10 minutes of discussions, Joey Gilbert, or Burns could have got the board back on track. But nope, incompetence from Joey Gilbert's law firm prevailed again, causing an open meeting violation. It is his job to pay attention and not update his social media accounts. Stop wasting our taxpayer dollars and skip the discussion of a search firm. This is your 7th special meeting board in a year at cost of thousands of taxpayer dollars. If the previous law firm would have missed the open meeting violations and have been this incompetent, the Sterretts and the mayors would be throwing a fit about it and causing them to be done. Please try and accomplish one good thing after a disastrous 16 months of truly horrifying results and hire Ms. Dwyer. It's time to start caring about children and teachers and not your political agenda.
Go ahead, Chris Golightly.
Good evening. My name is Chris Golightly, and I'm not, you guys, I just can't believe the division in this county. I'm not surprised, nor am I disappointed, because I know by actions and words who they serve. But Carrie Kangas and Linda Gilkerson should be ashamed. I know they're not, but they fully knew they were helping to create the open meeting law violation. And we know that these are really tough times and that all of the parents and all of the teachers just want what's best for the kids. This board wants that too. And they were heavily deceived by the non-agenda motion that the newest board member made. You guys, please start listening to each other. Thank you for my time.
Go ahead, Emma.
Hi, Emma Archibald for the record. Just a couple of thoughts. First of all, Yvonne, we love you. We're appreciative of you. What I find really interesting is the disdain towards said new board member for possibly making a mistake instead of legal counsel and experienced board members for not calling out that mistake. I think that it's a bit hypocritical if you ask me. Second of all, with regards to the hiring of Jeannie Dwyer, I absolutely support that idea, and I'm confused why Jansen abstained from voting when she visited my classroom, which was a lovely experience. We had a pretty extensive conversation about how we were both really in support of Ms. Dwyer, and we both really appreciated the hard work she does for our district. So I'm just in confusion about that. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Hello, Melinda Matus for the record. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, we can.
Yes. Okay. Hi, thank you. I'm sorry I can't be there in person supporting the choice of Jeannie Dwyer for superintendent. She has proven herself in so many ways, and the board, the majority of the board, agreed wholeheartedly at our last meeting. 5-0. I don't know how the two abstained and it was accepted. I think that should be investigated. But the fact of the matter is, she is our best candidate. She is local. She understands the district, the parents, most importantly, the students and the staff. And she has performed admirably, and everyone on the board has stated so. Please make this right. Put on the agenda to elect Jeannie Dwyer as our next superintendent. Thank you.
Was there someone that took a ticket? Okay. All right, let's go ahead. Yep, go ahead.
Go ahead, May Hyatt.
Oh, I was hoping Virginia Niece would go ahead and
speak in front of me, but all right, for the record, May Hyatt, I just want to say, people in the audience there are talking about possible collusion. I think that that's funny. You know, there's a lot of, finger pointing and blaming, talking about the quote unquote experienced incumbents. But last I checked, Susan Jansen was a school board president and she just finished her term. She said absolutely nothing. And so she knows about OML. She knows how to run a meeting. She knows what was on the agenda as well. And yet she said nothing to stop it either. So I don't know why you guys are blaming or pointing fingers towards, trustees Kangas and Gilkerson. Nobody else said anything either. So it's to blame on, David Burns and again, Joey Gilbert. You want to talk about collusion? How many special board meetings have we had? And every time we have these, because of mistakes, he gets more money. We're up to $280,000 already, and the school year is not even over yet. So every time we have these meetings, his pockets get fatter. And that's not our fault. That is your fault, David Burns. That's your fault, Susan Jansen, because you were the previous school board president. And sorry, it is Joey Gilbert's fault too, because he's not giving good legal.
Okay. Is that it? Online? One more? Okay.
Go ahead, Denny.
Am I speaking? Okay.
Yes, you are.
It's rather interesting to be zooming in and looking at the audience and seeing what comprises the audience. And it just makes me question why the oldest people in the audience are the ones that are fighting against and questioning what the youngest people in our community are being taught. If these initials are so bad, why aren't people that have the kids in schools or kids in elementary schools that'll be growing up, why aren't they out in there defending what their children are going to be taught? It's not 1950. Thank you.
Good. Okay. Number 48.
Virginia Niece for the record. In what world does the guilty party not get the blame, especially flanked by two experienced trustees that are always sharply critical of the other side's open meeting law violations? I think that's amusing. The finger goes around the room a lot. This reeks of rules for thee, but not for me. Susan Jansen, maybe she wanted the other side to walk right into it since they're supposed to know all this stuff. It's so funny that we're blaming everybody but the people who actually did it. Granted, Wagstaff is inexperienced, but she again is flanked by two people. Susan Jensen did not vote and she did abstain and she said it was an open meeting law violation. So why are you picking on that? I don't get it. You guys are nuts.
We're clear online? Okay. Okay, public comment is closed. Number 3, the appointment of acting superintendent to superintendent of schools. This is for information only. Pertains to the information based on the OML, and then we'll get some comments from there. Did you want to, either one of you want to address it?
So the reason for this special meeting is because of the multiple open meeting law violations at the last meeting. The first of which was a vote on a non-agendized item, which is not on the agenda tonight. even though we said it was going to be. And then the second of which is we did not move forward addressing agenda item number 3 any further after the first vote was taken. And so tonight we will be moving forward to address agenda item number 3. Number 4?
Yeah, number 4 was number 6 last
Okay.
meeting. So.
Not confusing at all. So agenda item number 4, which was number 6 last meeting, which was not addressed at the last meeting, will be addressed tonight.
Mr. Burns.
Go ahead.
So I was under the impression last week when I made my motion, which I 100% did by myself, did not talk to Jeannie, and any public record is going to show I did not talk to Linda, I did not talk to Carrie, I did it on my own, because I was under the impression that because I said in lieu of search process that we hired Jeannie Dwyer, that we had addressed that because we voted in lieu of search process. So I'm just curious, did that not meet? Because we voted on that. So I'm asking for information.
Yeah, I gave you a very similar move in February. I think it was February, the meeting before last. I stopped you from doing the very same thing then. And then you turned around and did it again last meeting. So go back and look at the tape and you'll see where I corrected you. I stopped you from making a motion because it was out of order. So you did it again, but here's the thing. When you make them, you have to follow the agendized item.
So I thought that I was, because
Let me finish. You have to follow this in detail. You cannot stray from it. That's what NRS regulations is very clear. That you cannot stray from the agenda.
I didn't believe that I was.
Well, you did, and it was an open meeting law violation to make the motion. And excuse me.
You're lecturing her. Slowly. Bullying her.
And I gave you, you did the motion. That was a violation. The violation when an open meeting law is violated.
This is called a conversation.
Listen, go follow some guidelines and see. I have a responsibility to give correction to a trustee if they're out of line. And that's what I'm trying to give her some guidance right now. It is not your part to be involved in this conversation. Thank you. No. So when the violation is made, it immediately, by law, immediately is null and void of everything from there on with it. It's if it didn't happen. That's the law.
Right.
Okay.
I know
Once that happened, that means the vote actually voted on nothing because there's nothing existed. That's why she abstained. She didn't vote. I shouldn't say abstained because she didn't. She didn't vote. She didn't vote because evidently she knew there was a violation. I picked up on the violation and I just stayed neutral on it. I could not act on that once the motion has went forward, and especially with the coming into a vote. So I made the mistake by not catching it, and I've admitted to that. But if you're going to make, when you make the motions, you got to make sure that they're following exactly the words that's going on here. Even in discussion, you cannot veer from it.
I don't understand, because I was under the impression that what I was doing because you're the one that said we need to start every discussion with a motion, right? Then discussion, then reread the motion or whatever and take a vote.
Yep.
Right? And so you asked for a motion on the floor. I made the motion. The motion was that in lieu of a search process, we would hire Jeannie Dwyer. Right? I was under the impression that we were forgoing the search process and hiring Jeannie. I realize now I've learned a hard lesson that I should not have done that. But I also was not corrected.
That's what we're talking about right
Right.
now.
Yes, I
This
know.
is the correction, not just for you. This is the correction in order to back up. So we can get, we have 30 days by the Attorney General in order to back up, resolve this.
Right.
Otherwise, we stand with the open meeting law violation and the Attorney General will come down on us for it.
Right.
So that's what we're trying to get corrected here, and we will. That's the process. So the process is, just like Kendra said, the process is you have a violation, you correct the violation, and once you correct the violation, then you have to pick up on the actual item. Now, had we discussed that item, which we didn't because the motion, according to Robert's rule, there's 3 places in there where it specifically says motion first, then debate. So yes, I know that hasn't been in the past, but there's 3 places in a violation that the motion has to be first. Then we can move on with debate and discussion.
Well, there's 2 different ways that can go down. So you can have discussion and then a motion, then debate.
Not according to.
But once you have a motion on the floor, you have to go into debate.
And we didn't.
No,
You
we
didn't go
haven't.
into debate.
We haven't.
Do you know who starts the debate?
No.
According to
The person that makes the motion.
That's right. And you didn't.
Well, but Mr. Burns,
I'm just saying.
No, at no point during last meeting did any debate take place.
That's right.
You did motion, discussion, and then vote.
The motion.
And it should have been discussion, motion, then vote.
No, I'm sorry. That's not the order. I can give it to you. I can show you in the book.
I've been reading the book.
Well, then bring it up.
I want you to know that I did not do what I did on purpose. I seriously thought that what I was doing was acceptable because we were not going to have a process and just hire Jeannie Dwyer. Like, to me, that made sense. And yes, public record will reflect. I did not talk to Jeannie. I did not talk to Linda or Carrie.
May I speak while you're looking?
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kendra.
The AG's office gives us 30 days to correct any possible or obvious open meeting law violations. I do agree that with the language included in agenda item number 6, that it could have been a misunderstanding, but under the abundance of caution, it is safer to move forward in correcting that action rather than simply leaving it and it getting overturned later. And so that is how we believe we should move forward.
So on our April agenda, are we going to have an action item for appointing Jeannie Dwyer from acting superintendent to superintendent?
We have to finish item number 6 from the last meeting.
Okay, but here's
because we
my
violated there as well. We have, there's,
okay.
there's at least 3 violations.
Okay, but if we decide not to have a process because we plan on hiring Jeannie Dwyer, in her contract, it says that we can appoint her to superintendent. So there's 2 things there. If we're going to develop a process and go through a firm, then she's going to have to apply. Well, in my opinion, she's had a 5-month interview. So why would we put her through that when she's shown to us that she can do it?
Process. And let me tell you one other thing that's been left out in all this discussion. We did it. We had 9 candidates that applied for the position, applied. We scored them, we interviewed, and we did not select one out of that group. The problem is right now, what we're missing is, how many do we have right now? Applicants?
There are 13 applicants since you pulled applications after January 6th.
So we have 13 applications afterwards. So
we're telling
some of them applied before she even considered it. So just what I'm saying is, I feel only fair is to look at all of them.
So one of the firms in the packet that we received, right? It says look internally first because she already has.
You have to stick to this agenda. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You're going to be around the agenda and you can't do that. You have to
But
finish.
we said at our last meeting that on the agenda, we would be voting on.
You can't bypass this agenda item. That is a violation
So I
of
think
what we
we've
did
moved
last month.
into a discussion of agenda item number 4 without properly noticing it. So
Oh, go ahead. You.
I have no idea.
Really?
I'm very confused. I really am. I really am confused because the process that we used did not go well for us. Right?
Exactly.
Okay, so we're talking about number 4 again.
Yeah, I know. I know. I'm getting there.
Everybody's talking about number 4 again. So can we just stick with number 3 of information only, and then we could take up this discussion again for number 4, but can we just table it? Number 3, information only, and then we'll move on to number 4, please.
Thank you. I was addressing the actual violation. That's why I was on 3, but it started going. So thank you for stopping it. Okay.
So will that action item be on the agenda in April?
You have to discuss the next agenda. You cannot be, it's not on the agenda to discuss that. So we cannot discuss that. We're going to discuss number 4, get through that, and then we're done with the correction. Then we can move on from there. We're not going to move on until this is corrected. And we go through it. Whatever results comes out of that, comes out of it.
Okay,
if it's
number 3 says we're going to talk about the appointment of acting superintendent to superintendent of schools, right?
No, that's information.
It's information, but that doesn't mean we can't discuss. We can't ask questions, right?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I just want to state for the record that, yeah, yes, I've been on the board for a while, but not as long as her, not as long as you. No, excuse you. Well, hello. But I was blindsided by that. That completely blindsided me. I didn't see it coming. And that's why we have things that we get agendas 3 days before to mull it over, to think about it, to kind of roll around in it for a while. There was none of that. So I would not have been the fifth one of the 5 votes. I want to tell you that if it happened again, that wouldn't have happened, because I was just like, what's happening? And it was so closely related to 6 that, you know, it was a mistake on my part. But that was if I had said, oh, there's somebody in the district that I'd really like to kind of throw out there to be a superintendent, and everybody was like, hey, that's a good idea, we would have, they'd have been on the news, it'd have been in the paper, everybody's hair would have been on fire. That was inappropriate. It wasn't fair that there was no kind of previous notice at all that any of that was going to come up. That should have been shared with the rest of the board.
Like I said, it was
Thank
not
you.
shared with anyone.
Well, it should have been. Thank you. Okay, up.
We're taking a 10-minute break.
Come on, we can't have this. Well, then be quiet.
I don't want to jump you. Did you need to say something? Did you already say it? You could- Mr. Burns, after you're done, I want to say something about item 3. We weren't finished with that yet. No, we weren't. I raised my hand. I didn't get called on.
Okay, call to order again, please. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. I would like to speak on item 3 as I didn't get a chance to do so. Thank you. And since this is for information, I would like to kind of put in chronological order the events that went on. And I won't go through everything. I'll just hit some of the highlights that I feel. Let's see there. Although a vote took place, be it null and void, I want to remind the public that discussion did take place. In fact, and some of you have already mentioned this, we had discussion for over 8 minutes. Some of the things that went on during discussion is, and Dave called for discussion, Carrie voted and spoke in favor, talked about stop the bleeding and save us a great deal of time and money. Catherine at that point wanted to know, hey, was that sent out to all of us or just them? And it wasn't sent out to any of us. Doug asked, so Jeannie, do you feel you're up for this? Do you feel like this is something you are obviously doing it now? I would just like to hear it from you that you are confident. And Jeannie replied, I am all in. I was a little apprehensive in the beginning, and now that I've been through it and done it, confidence is improving. I feel like I'm doing a good job. How much harder can it get? And people laughed. So I feel like I can keep on I feel like I can keep on doing this, and I'm not doing a good job. I love this county and doing the work moving forward. And Doug commented, I've seen you work, and I've heard from Dave that you guys work together well. I think you work together well from Joey. So I would be supportive of this. Catherine said, when we were doing the agenda, I got to be honest, I've never worked with you before. I thought that you were super fair. Things got a little sideways and it appeared to be pretty, you were just fair, and that was neat to see. So thank you for that. I also agreed with everything Catherine had said. Oh, you're welcome. So Catherine said, there has been this idea, and this is no respect because I really do enjoy you. I do. Oh, it's no hurry. Take time. Let's go through everybody. And now all of a sudden it's a hurry. You know what I mean? And I don't disagree with that. I just need to sit on this, And Dave said, you're going to have to put up with me. And Jeannie said, I've done it for this long. I can keep doing it. Yvonne spoke in favor. I won't go through her remarks. Carrie spoke in favor. Catherine also said, Jeannie, this is a lot to put on you. And I know it's been 4 months and you have been crushing it for sure. But going forward, that's a lot to put on anyone's plate. And then she asked her if she continued doing inclusive education plus all the other things. And Jeannie explained that no, she would not be doing that. So then we took a vote, and it was 5 yes, 2 abstain. 2 abstained. Mr. Burns abstained, so I would think his vote was a yes, since it was not a nay. If he didn't want Ms. Dwyer, I think he would have spoke up. And then I heard tonight something new that one of the teachers that Susan visited, she said they had a conversation, and she told her that she was totally in support of Jeannie. So then we broke and we came back. And at that point, Yvonne asked, hey, do we need to ask Jeannie if she accepts the offer as superintendent? And Dave said, no, she's in, she's done. And Jeannie said, well, for the record, I accept. Dave said, well, we will talk about coming up with a contract just like last time we planned it. It was me and legal counsel will come up with a contract. And then that contract will be offered to the superintendent. If she accepts it, we'll come to the board for final approval. And Dave looked over at legal and said, am I correct? Yes, I'm correct. We started to talk about number 7. Catherine interjected, okay, we've gone to item 7 and we weren't done with 6. And I'm not cool with that because I'm very anxious. And Joey broke in and said, let me address that. And speaking with everyone in absolute guidance fashion and an abundance of caution, I want to stay the result of the vote. Even the vote itself of Jeannie, and I want to agendize this properly and put it on for the next. I think that we can easily have a special meeting. Right now, we are looking at Thursday in the evening so people can be here because it's short notice. In abundance of caution on both sides, we would agendize this properly, provide an opportunity for public comment like we know they want. Then what I will do, I will have Jeannie's contract, everything ready to go so that when it's voted next week, it'll be that she signs it, accepts it, and it is done. So I think it's the clean way of doing it, and it's the right way of doing it, because it just can't be this way because everyone is in favor of it. I think it was sprung on and maybe not was intentional, and it moved very fast. And I'm actually glad Jeannie was considering it. We need to pump the brakes, stay the votes, stay the results, and agendize it and revote and move forward next week. The last thing I'd like to say is that at the end of the meeting, we had future agenda item, and Doug spoke up and said, he said, I would like to put on the agenda for special board meeting, which I believe we are talking about next Thursday, 3/21 at 5 p.m. Well, we are going to have a legal thing at 5, and when that's done, so the meeting would start around 5:30. For the purpose of this, we are going to say a special board meeting on the 21st at 5 p.m. to vote on hiring Ms. Dwyer for superintendent and the approval of her contract. So that's what happened at the last meeting, but yet here we sit today and we have nothing on our agenda about hiring Jeannie. And I know I spoke with Dave over the weekend and asked him, please, we talked about it. I listened to the minutes. People want it. Can we not put it on the agenda for this? First he said, no, we've got to clean it up first. But then I spoke with Mr. Gilbert, who told me, no, there's nothing illegal for us to have agendized it on our agenda today. So I spoke with Dave and he told me no. And then it went to Joey, who said, well, when the officers want to put something on the agenda and we have a disagreement, he says no, I said yes, then we go to our third officer. And Catherine voted no as well. So that's what's happened and why this is not on here today. I just wanted to explain that to you. Thank you.
Dave, can I say something? That's all I want to say is I knew there was an open meeting law violation. That's why I didn't vote. I did not abstain. I didn't vote. And I was saying OML, and just nobody heard me or no one listened to me. But it wasn't proper and we're moving on and that's what should happen.
Go ahead.
Again, the reason that we get agendas 3 days before is so that we have thoughtful time to look through them. It's not in the moment of the emotion. And I think that was lost in all that happened. Thank you for reading every word of it, Linda.
You're welcome.
But you know, people do change their minds in reflection. I happen to be one of those. Thank you.
Let me read the last sentence on 3. This action was in violation of open meeting law and therefore the action vote is null and void as a matter of law.
And
That's
if I
where
could
we're at
just,
today.
if I want to say one thing to everyone listening, everyone here, look, at the end of the day, there's a lot of people are right in here and there's someone who was wrong. I made a mistake. I screwed up. I'll own that. It was an open meeting law violation. I did discuss it as fast as I could with Kendra. I even brought it up with Jeannie. I said, where's public comment? This can't happen like this. And I should have said more. To me, part of it was, you know, a moment where things were moving quickly. I'm not trying to duck the responsibility. You know, I'm my father's son. I have to own that. I made that mistake. I'll own it. Another thing, as I've already mentioned, we already had this litigation meeting set to be out here this week. And this special meeting, I will not be billing a penny for. So I get it. I accept the criticism. I respect all you for what you said, and I will own it, and we will do better. And I'm sorry I didn't speak louder last time. Some of you know I was not feeling the best. No excuse whatsoever. But I did let this board down. I let President Burns down, and I'm sorry, and it won't happen again.
Okay, we're done with number 3. I'm going to move on to number 4. We haven't heard anything from our online, so I don't know if he has anything he wants to say now or not.
Hello.
Yes.
Kirk here. Yeah. Last at the last meeting, just before Yvonne got called on by you to make a motion, I had a motion prepared and I would like to make that motion at this point.
Okay.
I make a motion to distribute the 13 new applications for superintendent, plus the application from Mr. Holmes to the board and to the public by March 28th. The board is then directed to rate the candidates using the previously used screening tool. The acting superintendent and legal counsel are directed to compile the results and post the top 3 candidates by the April 9th board meeting. The board will then select 3 candidates to be interviewed out of the pool, and we will also include Ms. Dwyer as a potential 4th candidate.
I'll second that.
Okay, now we're open for discussion. Ms. Wagstaff.
So I have a slight problem with the motion, because while yes, there are 13 applicants and yes, they deserve consideration, Miss Dwyer has been interviewing for 5 months. For 5 months, she has shown us what she can do. She has shown us that she is committed to our students, to our staff members, to the board. And we're just going to say, no, sorry, your 5 months don't really mean anything. Why would we not talk about that before we talk about taking other applicants?
Can I speak to my motion?
Sure.
The reason is because it gives us a chance to pick the top candidates from this list and interview them along with interviewing Ms. Dwyer, which we hadn't had a chance to do at the last thing. My mistake in the last meeting was going for efficiency. I know in a school board, there's no such thing as efficiency. So it seemed to me the easy way out, but upon further reflection, I don't think it's the right thing to do. And that's why I've presented this motion, is it gives us an opportunity to see the applications that have come in, consider the top applications, and then have a chance to have interviews and a meet and greet with, because I know there's a number of people that would like to have a meet and greet with Ms. Dwyer as well. And so I just think it's the right way. And if at that point we consider Ms. Dwyer as the best candidate, then I'm all for it. So that's the basis for my motion.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gankus.
Yes. I 110% stand behind Mrs. Dwyer. I haven't changed my mind at all. I think the district needs her. I think we have someone who has proved themselves. And I think that it would make a lot of people in the district, especially the teachers and especially the people that work with her, heal and understand that we're trying to do the right by our district. If this falls on deaf ears, there's only one way to rectify this. We've already failed at the process you're proposing, Doug, and that would be to have a search company work for us. This is not how you gain the public's confidence back in this board.
I agree with Doug. I think that we should. There's a lot of questions that I've never asked Jeannie. I don't know how she feels about a lot of things, and I think that it's fair to ask her and ask. And I think that we have 13 people that have applied. I think they're serious people, and I totally disagree with you. And I think that if Jeannie is the best candidate, then she'll rise to the top. And I think that we should see those other. I want to see the other applications and I want to read them and I want to rank them. And that's my opinion. And you're entitled to yours.
Go ahead, Catherine.
The people that we hear from, which are our constituents, and I'm good with that. But I also speak to many that don't feel the way that many that show up here feel. And so we speak for all constituents, not just the ones that show up here in this room or on Zoom. There are others that have different views. That is a fact. So my job is to speak for all constituents. So I think being fair to those that may not share the views of those in this room, they have a right to hear from everybody. I don't think that's a problem. I think it's right. Nobody had a problem when we kind of came up with the idea that, we needed lots of people to interview and so forth. And let me just say this. I think that it's hard sometimes I understand bringing people up within a school district because it is a family. But when it comes to a superintendent, it's hard to be objective. Sometimes when there are things that a board puts forward that maybe the school or some folks in the school district don't agree with. And when you have those intimate relationships, which are fine, but when it comes to a superintendent, I think we need someone that is really truly objective, that maybe doesn't have those emotional ties to others. That's just my opinion. I'm sure it's not going to be received well, but it's a thought. Thank you.
Go ahead, Linda.
Okay, so what I know and what I've heard is that we do not want to hire or have anybody in our district that was related to Keith Lewis. Okay, they're trying to whitewash it all out and start all over again. And that's why we've lost so many people. So what I have a question. I'd like to know how many of these candidates, of these 13, have you reached out to or talked to or encouraged to apply?
You're asking
I'm
me,
asking everybody. Doug, have you
zero.
reached out to anybody?
Zero. I don't even know who they are. I'd like
Okay.
to know.
I have not reached out to any of these
Dave, you've
people. I
not
have
talked to
not
any of
seen
our
any of their
candidates?
names.
Did I ever get a name from you? No.
Have you reached out to any of our past candidates?
Before? After?
Now,
What?
recently, have you reached out to anybody that had applied before and encouraged them to
Since John Ramirez.
since John Ramirez? Have you talked to anybody since John Ramirez?
I don't know.
I'm asking the question.
I
It
don't know what
matters
you're
to
asking.
me. So have you talked to Dennis Holmes? Have you called him?
Did I call him?
Have you called Dennis Holmes?
He called me.
And have you
wanted to know if we were going to have.
So if I ask Dennis Holmes that you did not call him, he will answer and say no.
You can call him and ask him.
Okay.
He called me. He talked to me. He asked me, "Is Mrs. Dwyer hired?" And I said, "At this point, it has not happened."
Because you
He said,
brought,
"Well,
you
I'm
even,
still interested."
you
That's
brought
why.
his name up. I've heard you've talked to him a couple times, and you brought his name up.
what?
You brought his name up tonight. You actually put it on the record about
I
Mr.
said
Holmes. Yes, you did. You said it. You mentioned him this evening. So this is my concern, okay? And this is for all of us, not just you or whatever. It makes a difference to me. I'm going to tell you why. Because you don't trust me. You don't trust me. You don't trust me. You trust me. You trust me. I don't trust you. I don't trust you. And I don't trust you. And a good evidence of that is who we tried to hire the last time. That was scary. And the community will say that. We almost hired somebody that was not a good choice. In fact, I met with Mr. Ramirez. He asked to meet with me the next day for breakfast, right? So I met with him and I asked him again, as I did in the meeting, who brought you here? And he talked around the block. So then I asked him then, and the next morning, I said, come on, John, how did you hear about us? Who brought you here? And he just didn't talk around the block again, would not give me a straight answer. I do not trust this board to be able to be unbiased toward any of these people. That's why I think we need, if we're going to have the public trust us and our judgment, I mean, we really failed them last time. So if we're going to have trust and you want the community to trust our decisions, then we need to use a firm if you're not going to hire Jeannie.
Okay.
And I think we should.
You're out of order. And so stick.
How am I out of order?
Stick to the
process.
Hire
a firm.
We have a motion. Discuss the motion.
I am. I'm telling you, we need
Discuss
to.
the motion.
I'm telling you, we need to hire a firm. That's the only fair way
You got a
that
motion
you
on the
will
floor.
that you will trust me and I will trust you. If I don't want to give you these people, because there are people in there, I believe that you, maybe not you, but somebody has put forth that have the same political views as you do. That's what I'm saying.
Just a minute. Oh, Jeannie,
So if we hire a firm,
did you give those names to anybody other than legal counsel? Maybe, I don't know. the candidates.
Don't bring me into this. I've never gotten a name.
Nobody has the names.
Nobody has the names.
No.
Okay, I have no idea.
Before we move further with
Missing the point here, what I'm saying, you're missing the point that within those 13, I believe, and I think the community believes, and maybe the other trustees might believe this. I'm not going to speak for them, but I truly believe that in those 13, like Mr. Ramirez and Mr. Holmes, it was really ironic that Holmes, Daly, and Ramirez, their applications went to Miss Jansen and Mr. Burns, and we did not get them. They went directly to them. So that's the reason why I'm saying this. This was not clear, open. If we hire a firm and it's worth the money, why would you not spend it? Because what will it cost us if we hire the wrong person? If we get a firm, then we know it's all above board. There is no questions whatsoever. And that's how I feel. Thank you. I'm sorry if I offended you, but
Dave.
that's the real deal.
Dave, Dave, can I say something?
Yep.
Dave?
Yep.
Dave, I just want to say that the only reason that those applications came to me was because I was the president and I immediately sent them to Jeannie. I did not know those people. And for you to accuse me of that is why I don't trust you, because you don't trust me and you've been rude
So
to me.
let's use a firm.
Okay.
No.
That's enough. That's enough.
Okay, there's
Carrie?
one more little
Yeah.
thing here too.
So again, the only way to gain trust in this county is to use a firm. And there, in my opinion, there is zero way in the next 3 weeks that we can vet 13 applications and have good information on those candidates. I'm totally against that. If you're going to do that, let's give it more time. You have another 4 weeks. And then now we're getting into some weeds, but that's the only way. There's no way that I will vote for the motion that's on the floor.
Okay. Anyone else? Discussion?
I'll make a comment.
Okay, go ahead, Doug.
I'm fine if we want more time to look at the 13 candidates. I put out a date of the next board meeting, but we could put out a date of the following board meeting. I'd be fine with making that amendment just as a case of discussion here.
To May?
Say what?
To May?
Yeah, to the May
May
board.
board meeting. Okay.
Dave, can I also make an amendment to his motion?
Okay.
That to please carry. So I would like to say that if we,
We're just
So-
just hang on a second, Susie. We're just making suggestions for an amendment at this point. We're not necessarily making an amendment. Let's try and come up with something so we only have to have one amendment.
okay, so can I combine mine so that we move I just want to tell you that you can use mine. I was just going to say that if we don't find a candidate that we want to hire in those 13, then we should go to the national search process. I think that should be part of the motion.
No.
Hold it.
Okay.
Doug?
Yeah, we can make an emotion. We can make an amendment to the motion to change the date to the May meeting, and if at that point we do not find a candidate, we go to the national search. But keep in mind at that meeting, we would be determining the candidate of the ones that we look through, the 13 plus Miss Dwyer.
Okay. Are you making an amendment to your own, Doug?
I want to hash things out to make sure when we make an amendment, we're not like adding another amendment to another amendment. So those are my ideas for the amendment. Is Susie's idea and the idea of waiting till the May board meeting.
Okay, Carrie?
So I made the statement that there's no way we could be prepared, but I also made the statement that the only way to gain the trust of this county is through a national search. And I feel like it's a waste of time to do anything else. And I appreciate you wanting to make that, but it's still not good with me. I want a national search.
Catherine.
I am very, very good with going through the 13. If we do not find somebody, and there could be a great possibility of that, then we will go to a national search. But I think we can do that first in this. I really do. Thank you.
Yvonne?
So I feel like we are telling Jeannie that the last 5 months that she's interviewed for this position is not worth her time.
Okay,
I
we
also
have a
know.
motion that
I know.
we have to stick to the motion
I am.
in discussion.
I am.
Okay.
Okay. I also know that right now, Douglas County is the laughing stock of Nevada. And that we are not going, people that actually want to come to Douglas County are not going to be the cream of the crop. We are going to get the people who have been kicked out of their districts because they could not follow directions, because whatever reason, right? So why would we want to go through 13 applicants when we have a fantastic one sitting right there that's already been doing the job? She has the relationships built. She has the trust of the people. She has the trust of the staff. So I do not think that we should vet 13 candidates until we discuss hiring Jeannie Dwyer. I don't think we should be dealing with the process because it's
Okay,
not right.
We had amendment to the motion on the floor. That's what I need you all to stick to. The motion and the amendment on the floor.
Can I comment, Dave? All right,
Yes.
go ahead, Catherine.
This idea that a handful of people out of this entire county think we're a laughing stock, I can promise you that there are many that come up and say, keep going, you are doing the right thing. So no, you may not, okay, that's fine, but this doesn't speak for the whole county. Thank you.
Dave?
Doug?
Just a quick thing about Yvonne, what you said. At the end of this meeting, you are perfectly entitled to make a future agenda item to put an up or down vote on Ms. Dwyer at the next meeting. All you need is a second and it will be on there. So this motion is that, and that might happen, and then that could supersede whatever happens in May.
But I thought that we did at the last meeting for this agenda. We had said that we wanted that on the agenda, and it is not.
And Mr. Gilbert came up to us this evening and said it would be on the next agenda. Did you not? No, you said it would be. Could? Okay. All right. That's okay. But I have something else I'd like to add to this. A little bit of distrust. And this was from Mr. Burns. There was a public records request from someone because Mr. Ramirez's facts weren't checking out. And his response to John was, this is one of our agitators.
You're out
Figure
of
you
order.
can respond to me and answer to her claim. You don't respond to her, so you answer to me. Stays with me. I only confirm your information. Am questioned on such.
Where'd you get that from?
It's an email. From you.
From me?
To Mr. Burns, or to Mr. Ramirez. Yes, you're telling John Ramirez, when somebody questioned about his licensure, you said, and I can show it to you, it was sent on the 2nd not the 2nd, February 8th at 7:59. John, this is one of our agitators. Figure you can respond to me and answer to her claims. As I don't respond, as you don't respond to her. So you answer to me, stays with me. I only confirm your information.
I have never emailed them.
right here. I can send it to you if you'd like it. It's right here. So I'm just saying, so we don't trust when we read things like this. Why would we trust you? Honestly, I mean, this is, and this stuff only came to you. It didn't come to all of us. He wasn't president.
Oh, you didn't say that, so hold the laughter. You didn't say that. I didn't know.
No. Anyways.
It's February. I was president.
Oh yeah, I stand corrected.
Okay.
You were, but you reached out to him by yourself and you directed him to respond to only you. You answered to me. You don't respond to her. So your answer to me stays with me.
Okay.
I only
All right,
confirm your
let's
information.
move
That's
on.
what it
All right,
says.
we're going to take a vote.
I'm not ready to vote. I have
Well,
another
you're off
thing.
the agenda item.
Well, I'll get back on it. So also, we are very
Wait,
short-staffed.
we're
There was an amended motion, so you have to vote on, or so you have to second the amended motion
Yep.
and then vote on whether to amend and then vote on the new motion.
correct.
And we can't still continue to talk?
No,
If I have something else I'd like to say?
you're off the agenda.
I won't be off the agenda. One of the
You were
things,
already.
one of the things
So we're
is
gonna
we
take
are
a vote.
short-staffed.
Do I have a
We don't
second?
have a
Do I have a
secretary to
second?
help us. We don't have an HR person to help us. We are so short-staffed. What makes you think we're going to be able to do this without these two key people?
It says for discussion and possible action, so I don't know
That's where we're at.
where you want us to step in because you guys are able to discuss as you see fit.
Well, we're not staying on the agenda. So we're going to, we have an amendment that has been. Do we have a second? All right, Catherine seconded it. Doug, you want to reread that motion?
Well, I didn't write down the amended motion, but we have to vote on the amendment, correct?
All right, hold on. Catherine, I think, has
I
the
do.
amended.
So the amended, so what I amended is, well, one thing you said is you wanted to make the date for the May meeting, which is the third Tuesday in May, because we have the budget that month. So, and after we go through the process with the 13 applications and Jeannie and don't find a candidate that we want to hire, then we should go to the national search process. That's the amendment.
Okay, and Catherine seconded that.
Second.
Let's take a vote on the amendment. All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed?
Nay.
That is trustee Kangas, Wagstaff, and Gilkerson that oppose. The motion carried. Now we're going back to the actual agenda item,
Mr. Burns.
number 4. We're going back to the agenda item. We have a motion on the floor. We have an amendment that's been approved. Any further discussion on the agenda item?
This is
The
on
motion.
Yeah, yes. Is it possible to amend the motion that we just amended to state that we can do that after consideration of Jeannie Dwyer?
She's not on the agenda.
She is on the agenda.
She is in the motion of how we're going to structure it. She's in that motion. Doug gave her the step to go in with the top 3. So there'll be 4 in the final.
But will she apply? I mean, we've basically just railroaded her.
No.
I mean, really, she has been railroaded.
Other people have a right to hear from her.
There's a lot
Publicly.
of people in this that if I've had calls that say, hey, I don't even know her. How come I don't have a right to ask her questions and stuff in a meet and greet or whatever? So it has a process. Nobody can jump over the process. That's
Except
where we're
in
at.
her contract, it states that she can.
That's her contract. That's not our process and procedures.
But no, that's why I'm asking, can we amend this process to state that we first talk to Jeannie Dwyer and look at appointing her from acting.
There's a
There
motion
is,
on the
and
floor.
I'm asking to amend it. That's what I'm asking.
So move to amend the motion, and if you get a second, then it has to be board majority to amend the motion.
Okay, so I move to amend the motion that we do what Doug suggested with the amendment that was just voted on, to state that we should first address approving appointing Jeannie Dwyer as superintendent under her contract.
Now someone would second.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion? No discussion. Take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, say aye. Aye. Nay.
Nay.
Doug?
Yes,
Doug?
I voted in support of that motion. We can bring up Jeannie at the April 9th meeting for a vote.
Okay. We have a motion and passed an amendment. Now we have to vote on the amended. So we have an amendment to the original motion.
You want me to,
You
I
made
can
a
kind of
second
read the
amendment.
whole thing if you want.
Yep, you have to,
I'm gonna read the motion with the amendments added in. Okay, I made a motion to distribute the 13 new applications for superintendent, plus the application for Mr. Holmes to the board and to the public. And the board is then directed to rate these candidates using the previously used screening tool by the May regular school board meeting. And if nothing has happened, if we are not able to come up with a candidate from that, then we will hire a national firm. And as an additional part of this is at the next meeting in April, on April 9th, we will bring up the hiring immediately of Ms. Dwyer as superintendent. Does that cover it, Yvonne?
As an agenda item. Just to be clear.
As an agenda item.
okay. All right. We have a second?
Well, I think everything's been seconded. And
Do I
now
have a
we're-
second on your amendment? Did you?
Yeah, I seconded that.
Okay. All right. So Doug read the amended motion, and all in favor of the full motion with the amendment, say aye.
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 Those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
It's 4-3 in favor of. Mr. Kangas, Wagstaff, Gilkerson, and Engelkirk voted yes. Jansen, Burns, and Dickerson voted no. Okay, move on. Public comment.
It isn't over.
This public comment is for anything except for what is on the agenda. Anything that is on the agenda cannot be, no comments for it. Jeannie, do you have a list there and get started? Yep.
How old? Oh, they're doing good. Doing great. They had them all
So 49,
over
50,
for,
51,
St.
52,
Patrick's Day.
53. Okay,
And
thank
we
you.
took them to the park. It was such a beautiful day. And yogurt beach. So they're all doing well.
That's 60?
The oldest is
Okay, all right, thank you.
is enjoying her second grade.
Okay, we'll start out with
Colton
number
loves school.
49.
Next one. Harper's coming up soon. So yeah, we're hoping for the best.
Leslie Hokinson for the record. I want to remind the board that Jeannie Dwyer's contract supersedes the search process you put in place. I look forward to seeing Ms. Dwyer on the April agenda as superintendent. Additionally, I want to see on the April agenda a student
Mrs.
representative.
Holcomb, you got to stick to it. No agenda item. That is on the agenda. That is on a motion and
All right.
passed.
Okay. Additionally, I want to see on the April agenda a student representative being placed on the board. You have put this action off way too long, and I feel really sad for the students that have come and sat here for hours and hours and hours. They want to be a part of this, and some of you do not want to. Also, I don't feel the system that you use looking for a superintendent works. The scoring of Mr. Ramirez by some of this board gave him in the high 80s, others in the 30s. That certainly is a big discrepancy. It was disgusting that Mr. Ramirez was even put as a candidate in front of this community. I don't trust, and I don't think a lot of people here trust, the way you guys voted when you score them. That's why I really don't want to see you do it again, because some of you, I mean, somebody puts a 30 and somebody else puts an 80. What is that saying? And some of you gave Mr. Ramirez some of the highest marks and other people gave him a 30. So what does that say? You wanted Mr. Ramirez in. He was disgusting, and so were you for rating him so high.
Number 50.
Hi, I'm Ender Dempsey for the record. And I just wanted to shout out the Douglas academic team, which just won the regional champions in Northern Nevada. I just wanted to bring some positivity. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
51.
Hi, I'm Gwen Clark for the record. I'm coming as a relatively new resident of Douglas County and as a 35-year HR professional. And I don't know where the 13 candidates in the pool came from. I'm kind of curious, like, was it formerly a private application process, or was it a national search? That, like, where did those people come from? And why are they being brought up again? Like, they were obviously passed over in favor of Ramirez, and now they're being brought back up?
No,
No.
no. There was 9 to start with. We have 13 more. So there's a total of 22 if we added them all together.
But they applied before you guys offered the job to Ramirez? So
No.
they were passed over and now they're being,
The 9 is passed. This is all new. 13, right? Yes,
So-
go ahead, Jean.
So I can explain.
Okay.
The applications were pulled. The last process stated that any applications received prior to January 6th would be pulled to be screened. So these are all applicants in the Douglas County School District application system.
Okay.
And these 13 applicants applied after the January 6th cutoff. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Okay.
So,
And Mr. Holmes he didn't do anything to his application. It's still the same application that they saw before. So he's the only one that is from before. So the 13 are all applied after January 6th,
okay.
after they saw and screened
So they weren't
applications.
people that were passed over
No,
before and now
no,
just, okay.
no, not one
That
of
was
them.
my big
They're all
concern with my
new.
HR hat on.
Every single one of them are new.
Okay, thank you.
Number 52.
Virginia Neese. I'm just going to read from Robert's Rules of Order here. Point of order should have been called when a person goes off agenda. Breaches of order by members in a meeting. Robert's Rules of Order 6110. If a member commits only a slight breach of order, such as addressing another member instead of the chair in debate or in single instance, failing to confine his remarks or her remarks to the merits of the pending question, the chair simply raps slightly and points out the fault and advises the member to avoid it. The member can then continue speaking if he commits no further breaches. More formal procedures can be used in the case of serious offenses as follows. 6111, calling a member to order. If the offense is more serious than the case above, as when a member repeatedly questions the motives of other members whom he mentions by name or persists in speaking on completely irrelevant matters in debate, the chair normally should first warn the member, but with or without such a warning, the chair or any other member can call the member to order. If the chair does this, he says the member is out of order and will be seated. Another member makes the call and rises, and without waiting to be recognized says, Mr. President, I call the member to order. It goes further, but this is just something that I think should be respected.
Number 53.
Susan Minor for the record. Mr. Burns, at the last meeting, you made a big deal out of not voting, that it was according to Robert's rules, etc. Today you voted at every vote. The next thing I would like to bring up is you all talk about people supporting you, calling you, emailing you. I've been attending for a long time, and I have seen only the majority are against some of your votes.
I don't see the people you're talking about coming to these meetings and speaking up for your votes. And I would also like you to hire Jeannie Dwyer. Thank you.
54.
Hi, I'm Zach Wood. Just in this item, you did not follow the agenda. You did not properly run the meeting. You allowed speaker 50 to ask a question. You had a dialogue and answer. You went back to agenda number 3 or number 4 because you allowed people to talk about it during public comment. These are the little things. The big things are, did we take action to get rid of the previous superintendent, or did we do it at the next meeting? Did we take action at the last meeting to hire a new superintendent, or are we doing something different this time? Those are 5 votes for whatever that change week to week, that have explanations like, yes, we knew there was a violation, so we didn't do anything about it. Tragic, shameful. This must be improved. We will keep doing our part here, which is to point out here in this agenda item, am I allowed to talk about anything? Your agenda is completed. The actions you have taken are complete. They are not on your agenda anymore. You can't bring them back up. Well, except you just kind of did a little bit. Why are we forced to speak in these terms? Oh, I'll predict everything to talk about at the beginning of the meeting, but at the end of the meeting, I can't talk about anything because it might have been on the agenda. No, you have to open this back up. You have to listen.
Number 55.
Emmy Kowchuk. Mr. Gilbert, thank you for standing up and admitting your mistake. I'm disappointed, though not surprised by the lack of self-awareness demonstrated by President Burns. Your demands to be respected as president, to be trusted to preside over public meetings, and your self-appointed authority of all things NRS and Robert's rules resulted in absolute disregard of basic open meeting law. Worse, you blamed this on the newest trustee. You put the motion on the floor, which makes you complicit. Tonight, 2 of you stated that you knew it was in violation. Burns responded to the motion via abstention, and Jensen willfully did not note the violation on public record. Was this collusion? For the last year, we have heard from board members, 2 of whom have served as president, that they never got any training. Now you ridicule new trustees who are under your guidance. Trustee Wagstaff followed the rules that you instated. You came across as a bully. Shame on you.
Number 56.
Laura Cadeau for the record. President Burns, you stated at the October meeting that no one person has power. And you said, and I quote, that means that no one as a teacher, as a principal, as a superintendent, and at that point, Trustee Dickerson added, and as a board member. Mr. Burns, you concurred and repeated, no one has individual power. You said it comes to the elected positions, and now we become the legislature. And out of that, the final ruling. There are 7, and no one of those can be individual power. There is no individual power. So it comes back to the 7 board members are responsible. They have to pass with the majority to change things or do things or promote things. You cannot have a person that as an individual runs the show. And yet, Mr. Burns, you as an individual asked 2 executive members to forego the majority rule of 5-0 and not put Ms. Dwyer on the agenda, as Mrs. Wagstaff pointed out. You do not have that right. Your duty as president is to have the agenda reflect the majority. If that majority changes their mind, they do it in front of this venue, in front of the public.
Thank you. Number 57.
excuse me. Virginia Sterrett for the record. A recent letter to the Record Courier about the school board claimed that I called residents of this county Marxists. I have never in my life done that. Never. My argument has always been that the wide world of education in America has embraced ideologies that have grown out of Marxism or critical theory, which is applied Marxism, and that this district has in turn incorporated some of those ideologies into its policies and practices. Here is a sampling of examples of Marxism that exists in this district. Restorative justice practices, which this district has, are Marxist. Trauma-based sex education training, which this district offered, is Marxist. Transformative social emotional learning, which this district utilizes, is Marxist. The transgender policy this district employs is Marxist. All policies based on equity rather than equality, which this district has, are Marxist. NASB school board trustee training, as well as professional training, which this district utilizes, is Marxist. And new teacher training for several years in this district was Marxist based. It is the Marxism that has wormed its way in to which I object and which I call on the board to address. Thank you.
Number 58.
Marty Swisher. I don't know who called me a Marxist, but I've been called a Marxist at these meetings and in public and on the internet. So I'm not a Marxist, but I've been called it. Anyway, 7 people can make a difference in the outcomes, direction, and impression of Douglas County School District. And you're in front of me. Trust is the key. And there's no trust right now. I don't know how you're going to build it. Maybe it's going to take some new members on the board. And that may happen in short order. To Mrs. Dickerson, I just have to say, I talk to people all over Northern Nevada, and Douglas County is the laughing stock right now. And it breaks my heart because I'm from here. I grew up here. I graduated from here. And I talk to people all over Northern Nevada that are just like, what is going on in Douglas County? It's a joke. And that's up to you. You guys have to decide. How are you going to do it? I want to remind you that your May meeting is your budget meeting. It's a week later than it normally is. And if you put things on your agenda, you may end up not having time to really get to them. So I'd be concerned about that. And then lastly, I do appreciate Mr. Gilbert's accepting responsibility for what happened. I would recommend to him that any social media posts, whether you're doing them or anybody else is doing them, they're coming out during a meeting. They're pretty disgusting and they're very derogatory. There was a post that we had that wasn't at a meeting that people that I talked to were just like, that's horrible. So I would be taking those down.
Mr. Swisher. Number 59.
Adrian Sawyer for the record, parent of 3 DCSD students. NRS 241040, each member of the public body who attends a meeting of that public body where a violation of this chapter occurs has knowledge of the violation and participates in the violation is guilty of a misdemeanor. According to public comment, which received a nod from former President Jansen and board discussion, both former President Jansen and current President Burns knew at the time of the motion was made, it was a violation. It seems former President Jansen did not participate. She just let it happen. What kind of person sees a fellow board member in trouble and lets them fall? Shameful. I gave President Burns the benefit of the doubt, but it seems he knew as well and participated in the facilitation of the violation. Why are either of you on the board? You're wasting taxpayers' time and money. That was not only fiscally irresponsible, a dereliction of your duties, but spiteful and mean-spirited. I would hope the AG takes a look at what occurred on the 12th and what occurred here tonight. I did not think this board could stoop any lower, but here we are.
Number 60. That was on. Okay, we have online 3. Okay.
Go ahead, Colin. Colin Burrows. When it was amazing when Burns called a 10-minute break, how fast Virginia Sterrett ran to Joey Gilbert to discuss how to be a lawyer and do 2 to do her bidding. Then later you could watch her run to Jansen and Dickerson to guide them. What a horrible case of corruption watching the Starretts run our legal counsel and then puppeteer our board members. Joey Gilbert, you're just plain incompetent. I know Burns ran for this position using his wife's qualification as being a teacher while having zero experience, so I assume new members also rely on their spouses. Knowing this has me concerned when we're discussing a student representative. At a recent meeting, a brave young girl, perhaps 10 or 11, talked to the board and then wrote a letter to the editor about her thoughts about the board. We should be praising that young student and engaging in the process, not stopping. However, I noticed spouses on the board members bashing the young lady on social media. On March 1st, a discussion between Virginia Neese and Tad Dickerson discussed how bad she is, along with her bad parents on Facebook. How horrible that Trustee Dickerson is okay with her husband bashing a 12-year-old girl in our district. Miss Dickerson, why are you on the school board and why do you hate children?
Number 61 is online.
Go ahead, May.
Hi, May Hyatt. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, just to kind of piggyback on what Mr. Swisher was saying, I'm looking at policy number 433, which is the code of conduct for all Douglas County personnel and employees. There are several different points here that I want to highlight. Ensure a safe and respect. All employees of Douglas County School District need to ensure a safe and respectful learning environment for students through positive supervision and management at all times. Demonstrate positive relationships with students and at all times act in a way that upholds the values of Douglas County School District and reflects professionally upon it. Policy number 312, the personal life of an employee shall be of concern and warrant the attention of the board when it prevents the employee from performing properly his assigned functions during duty hours, it violates local or state, national law, or is prejudicial to his effectiveness in this position. I bring this up because if you look at Joey Gilbert's social media posts, he recently posted an image of a child who was dressed in a costume, and it says, if your kid pulls this pronoun garbage, beat them, take their phones, and change their friend group and school. Why are we having a person who's employed who condones and encourages parents and people in general to beat children? This is not reflective of Douglas County School District. I don't know why he's still employed. I have serious concerns about anyone in the Douglas County School District who condones this sort of behavior, who encourages the beating of children.
Thank you. Numbers, the last one. Is there two more? Okay.
Go ahead, Carrie.
Carrie Clubin for the record. I would just like to say thank you to Linda Gilkerson for so clearly showing and stating why the community does not trust this school board to find a superintendent for us, that we have zero trust in in Burns or Dickerson or Jansen or even Engelkert. She spelled it out beautifully. There is something going on. There is a bunch of sneakiness going on that we all know about, and it is going to come out somehow. But just know you are not trusted. And we are a laughing stock of the state. I have several people contacting me, asking me, are you ready to leave that screwed up district yet? It's insane. So thank you, Linda, for staying in there and for fighting for us.
Go ahead.
Hello, Melinda Matus for the record. I would like to just say that I have been online listening and watching this whole meeting tonight, and it is yet another disaster. And it is another meeting that the youth, the students, the staff are not being discussed. This is a constant battle of politics that should not be in our district. We need to get back to what is important, and that is our students, our education of our students. Please do better. Thank you.
One more, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me? This is Marcus.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, Marcus, thank you for the record. I kind of want to agree with what the last person just said. For the last 13 months, it seems like most of what is happening on the board is a jockeying for power and to see who can control what and whose constituents in the crowd can support them most. And I think we're losing sight of what the board is supposed to be. And, you know, the big theme of tonight is the trust. And it's in the name, trustee. I would love to see us work together and to come to a common goal that will support the kids and the teachers and the parents and the administration. And at every turn, all I see is everyone fighting for their right to their opinion and their power without any acknowledgement of who they're trying to help. And secondly, I would like to thank Joey Gilbert. I did hear your apology. I think it was sincere. You certainly owned what happened. I wish it all would have been caught sooner. But again, with the jockeying of power, there were open meeting law violations all year, and they kind of gone by the wayside. And as soon as one side makes it or the other side makes it, it's a giant deal depending on whose side you're on. This is ridiculous. Let's get back to the kids. Thank you.
Go ahead, Emma.
Hi, Emma Archibald for the record. I teach kindergarten. My students are interested in things like soccer, plants, animals, movies, playing, and more. Basically, I think that more conversations and more funds should be allocated towards those interests of the kids in our district. That's what we're here for. We're here to support them. We're here to support their interests. We're here to support their future growth. Basically, I'm just frustrated. I'm frustrated that we're having another meeting like this. I'm frustrated that it's become so political. I'm frustrated about a lot of things. But I just wish my kids were listened to. They're wonderful students. They have so much desire to learn. Miss Jansen, you know that. You've been there. You've met them. Mr. Engelkirk, you know that you've been there. You've met them. They're wonderful kids. They deserve to have funds allocated towards their desires and their learning. And I'm really sad that that's not what's going on here.
Casey Rogers for the record. I had to come speak just now because I am absolutely disgusted that you two are being glorified, especially after the past 4 years over the COVID pandemic, scamdemic. Absolutely, you masked our children and stopped their oxygen flow to their brains. And part of these people back here, maybe they're here because they were complicit in it as well, and that's why they're backing you up, because it should have never happened. You might want to laugh all you want, but none of you know what's going on. None of you have looked into it, and you keep talking in the background when you shouldn't be. I'm speaking. This is a courtroom. This is a courtroom, Dave, and I really appreciate it if somebody got some control over this court, because the decorum that we never did this to them. We kept our mouths shut until it was our time to speak. We didn't speak out like they are, and nothing is happening, and it's getting really old. It's getting really old. I felt like, they needed some grace too, because you deserve grace because you're new. Joey Gilbert's new. Congratulations. You made it, Joey. You deserve the damn spot. These people back here don't know what's going on, so I've been trying to give them some grace, but they are not doing it on the other half for you. So you need to get control of this courtroom. Do you understand me? I've had enough of it. And I'm telling you all that because you don't deserve to be here. You didn't come here for the kids. You keep preaching about the children, and yet you were never here for them the last 4 years.
All right. Thank you.
You weren't here. Yes, I was on Zoom. For 2 years, lady. Wow.
Anything else? Okay. Meeting adjourned.